You ready? It is 7 p.m. on Monday, September 16th, 2024, and I will call this regular City Council meeting to order. I do want to thank everyone joining us in the audience this evening, and if Council Member Cedar would lead us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Strader is not here this evening. If you'd like to excuse him, that would be wonderful.
Move to excuse Councilmember Strader.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to excuse Councilmember Strader this evening. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0. And then to note for staff, we have Planning Manager Stallnecker, Director Madden, Interim Director Robeck, Chief Hernandez, and City Clerk Tricia Summers. Moving on to citizen participation, the purpose of the public comment period at this meeting is for those wishing to address the council on any matter. It's not intended for debate and discussion with the public. Please be sure to state your name and city for the record, and we kindly remind you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I do want to note that we had 3 written public comments submitted regarding the outdoor meeting space. And first on the list this evening is April Balsley.
April Balsley, City of Milton, thank you so much. I am here to speak about the outdoor meeting space. I've been a citizen of Milton now 18 years this October. I've been involved in some kind of public service or volunteering in this great city for at least 15 years, which includes Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, PTA, Book Fair, and I've also been a member of the City of Milton's Events Committee for the last 11 years, and I've been the chair and or co-chair for the last 7 years. And I just can't speak more highly about how this city has evolved, how we are always constantly trying to create places for diversity and inclusivity. And I think that's what this stage is going to bring, this outdoor meeting space. I kind of envision it as a place where we can do movies in the park. We can do music in the park. How great would it be down the line to be able to use this also as a form of revenue for the city? To be able to have bands come in, have special events, people be able to use this meeting space as graduations, celebrations of all kinds, whether it is celebration of life, new life, and graduation celebrations. I just can't think of a better way to use our public parks to bring more people outside into our city to showcase how incredible we really are. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Ron Pilo.
Ron Pilo, City of Milton. Good evening. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak. I'm assuming that the outdoor space has something to do with the stage. I'm here to speak in support of that. I have actually reached out to some of my neighbors up on Diamond Street, and I got 6 very positive responses, thinking it would be an awesome idea. And again, it would be a space where we could have Shakespeare in the Park, we could have music, we could have all kinds of events there, bringing in food trucks for people to just come and enjoy. I know that my wife and I, we absolutely love music in the park during those warm summer evenings. I think, the first 2 weeks in August or whatever it is. But anyway, I digress. But I speak in support of it. I think it's a great idea. There really isn't one available, except if you want to go down into Fife. Having something up on the hill here in the great park that we have over here would be a phenomenal thing to do. So I speak in support. Thank you.
Next, we have Sandy Hockett.
Mayor and City Council, hello. Thank you for having me, allowing me to speak up here, and the other citizens. I sent a letter that you won't have to read now because I wasn't sure that I'd make it to the meeting, but simply put, really what I wanted to do was let the council members that may be unsure or not feel that this stage is a good idea to kind of encourage them to maybe rethink that. I am in total support of it. And also, I did too kind of reach out to several of my neighbors at a late moment yesterday, and I got many positive and no negative responses back as far as that stage is concerned. I could knock on doors with a piece of paper and get a lot of signatures if you guys want to know how much support is in this town, in this city. Oh, and by the way, I'm Sandy Hockett and I live in Milton. Right up the road. But yeah, it's a community, it's a community asset that we can have. And for many of the reasons that most of these people have already mentioned, is exactly why we should have it here. It can be a great thing for building community and a positive thing that children can use and families can gather. And what more would we possibly want to do with our parks than bring that kind of atmosphere to it? So in support, I encourage you all to please vote to have that stage put up. And thank you.
Next, we have Jessica Coy.
Jessica Coy, Milton. Also, thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for the work that you do for the city of Milton. I agree that I've been here 2.5 years, and I've loved what things have been happening in Milton and the improvements that have been made. I would like to comment also on the outdoor meeting space. The first summer I was here, Milton Edgewood Library hosted an African instrument ensemble concert at the park, which we attended. And I was thinking how much nicer it would have been if they had a stage to actually set up on instead of just a random spot in the grass. My family and I love attending outdoor events. When I lived in Oregon, we would go to summer concerts in the park. One of the parks we went to had a beautiful old white gazebo that they used as their stage. It was a place where local artists could go and perform and get some exposure. And it was a place that people knew and expected that they could gather. Now we live up here. I've been taking my son to Puyallup for their various events, which can include, it's been a reptile show, puppets, music groups. It's such a wide variety for kids. And the stage lets people know that's where we're gonna gather. You feel that sense of community when you're there. I don't even live in Puyallup, but I get that sense because you have that focal point. And that's what I think an outdoor stage area in Milton's Community Park could do. It could become a place for families to come together, enjoy the community they live in. As a parent, I look forward to opportunities in my own town, not having to drive to Puyallup or Fife, to get my child excited and involved in the activities besides wanting to stay at home and play video games or be on YouTube. When I was talking about coming to the meeting tonight, my 10-year-old even said, can you tell them I think it would be a good idea to have a stage? So events already occur at the park. Let's offer a gathering place that makes sense. Thank you.
Next, we have Jacqueline Whalen.
Jacqueline Whalen, I reside full-time in the city of Milton. I was planning on reading excerpts of the Open Public Meetings Act, but I'll save that for later. I think it's wonderful people have come forward to discuss their opinions about the open meeting venue. The sad thing I heard from none of them was an expression of how the negative impacts are going to be mitigated for the captive audience. That's the people who live around the park who have to deal with the noise and the congestion. And by noise, I can attest to that lovely event, the picnic event in August this year. I must have been at least 800 feet away. It's a lot of noise. Think about you with a neighbor who's got a rowdy radio that they just feel like blasting what they like, and it may be something you like or not. So the trouble for me with all this is the amplified sound, the captive audience. The venues down in Puyallup, Seattle Volunteer Park, these are not like what you're talking about at Triangle Park or the community park. And I would really appreciate an awareness of the impact that these lovely events, they sound wonderful, and building community, I've volunteered years back quite a bit on making that park once a year. We can put up with it once a year, but Imagine you're living in close vicinity, and this is amplified sound and that you can hear at great distance. The bass turned up for some of those musicians. There was a really unpleasant sound, much like when you're at a red light, car pulls up, and they've got the bass turned up quite high. Do you like sitting next to that? I think it's really important that when you're going to make this decision, if you decide to go forward with it, look for alternate spots and really think about the impact for the people who live there, not the people who come and visit. Yes, it's a lovely idea, but there are real impacts, and I've not heard anybody demonstrate a respect for that, let alone come up with any ideas to deal with it. I'm sorry it's something you may not want to hear, but those who don't want to be bullied on social media or whatever are not going to show up here. It's the sad state of affairs. So I hope that in your plans, you'll really take that into consideration. Think about your neighbor revving their motorcycle engine. That's not what's going to happen there, but I mean, the irritating sounds destroying your quality of life. It's a real thing. And I would appreciate it if it was taken into serious consideration and respected. Thank you.
The last sign up we have is Justin Murray.
See if I can read my own handwriting now. Justin Murray, Milton, Washington. Thank you, Mayor, council members, chief, and city staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I have been a off and on third generation Milton resident, and I have been a part of the Milton Park Board for the last 3 years. I speak tonight in support of the moving forward of the Community Parks outdoor meeting venue project. I believe will bring immense value to our community, both now and future generations. A meeting venue would serve as a versatile space for local performers, parks in concerts, theater companies, and camps, a focal point for future Milton Days. Could also host events from all ages, from youth and community talent shows, cultural celebrations, fostering deeper connections between diverse residents that call Milton and the surrounding areas home. This area could be a platform for our youth, providing them with opportunities to express their cultural and creative talents. Engaging young people through the arts and performances can inspire confidence, teamwork, and a sense of belonging, qualities that will benefit them and our community for years to come. With the arts and theater and having a place to perform, help develop me, who I am as a person today. With this project, it can contribute to the long term of our town by having a dedicated space for events and gatherings. This is an investment in our future. It creates a lasting memory to create a symbol of our town's commitment to unity and growth. Thank you for the consideration, and I hope you see the tremendous potential that this outdoor venue can bring to the city of Milton. Thank you.
So I thank everyone for their comment this evening. There will be another opportunity if you did not sign up to speak before action is taken. So if you didn't speak, you didn't sign up, I will give you an opportunity before action is taken. So moving on to additions and deletions. Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, starting on page 3 of your packet. If I could get a motion to approve. Councilmember Peretti?
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Peretti and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to pass the consent agenda as presented. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried 6-0. Council, we're going to move on to our next item this evening. It is on page 33 of your packet. It is a public hearing to take comment on interim zoning emergency ordinance 2091-24. I'm going to turn the floor over to our planning manager, Stallnecker, for a presentation, and then following her presentation, I will then open up the public hearing for comment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So on August 19th, the City Council passed an emergency ordinance, ordinance number 2091-24, that adopted a 6-month interim zoning for industrial uses on properties zoned light manufacturing and located along Meridian Avenue East. As per RCW 35A 63220 and RCW 3670A 390, the city council is required to hold a public hearing within 60 days of adopting an emergency ordinance. Since the emergency ordinance that was adopted did have findings of fact to justify the action, no additional action is required outside of the public hearing unless the council so decides to change their mind at that point. So basically, we just need to hold a public hearing if there's any comments on the ordinance and close it. And if there is no other, at that point, there's no other action needed.
So I will now open up the public hearing at 7:15 PM to take public comment on the interim zoning emergency ordinance 2091-24. Friendly reminder to state your name and city for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. I did not receive any names for the public comment. Therefore, I will close the public comment at 7:16, or excuse me, the public hearing at 7:16 PM. Moving on to our next item this evening, it's on page 39 of your packet. It is appointments to the Park Board. So we currently have 3 openings on our Park Board, and myself and Jose, who is currently the employee who is overseeing the Park Board, interviewed them. We are confident that all 3 applicants would not only enhance the diversity on the current Park Board, but just they all 3 have a strong passion for public service, community engagement, and appreciation for our parks. So I'm going to give each of them an opportunity just to introduce himself to council. And actually, the first one is a reintroduction because she's already served on the Park Board and had to take a little absence. So Mariah, did you want to reintroduce yourself?
Thank you. My name is Mariah Berry. I've been a resident for just under 2 years, served on the Park Board for a year before I had to resign for cancer treatment. I'm pleased to share I have a clean bill of health and hoping to serve my community again.
Next, we have Ron Pilo.
Again, Ron Pilo, Milton. I've been a resident here since 2015. I am a frequent user of the pickleball courts down in the on the big court down there, and I love the parks that we have here in Milton. I have a passion to not only have them be built, but have them be well maintained. I think the best that we can, or the job that we can do to maintain our parks just allows for that enticement for people to show up. When parks are in a poor state, people aren't going to show up. And I just have a passion to make sure that we're maintaining our parks well. And I look forward to serving on the Parks Board for Milton. Thank you.
And next we have Cole Hovland.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cole Hovland. I've been a resident of 5 Milton Edgewood for the past 29 years. I look forward to enhancing everything that we have already done in this community and underscoring what everyone has said behind us on how the parks have become a great part of this community. And really looking forward to hearing all sides and all aspects of everyone's opinions and thoughts on what we should do going forward and enhancing our parks from there. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity to serve the community. Thank you.
I will take a motion to approve the appointments. Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you, Mayor. Move to approve the mayor's appointment of Mariah Berry to the Park Board for a term to expire December 2024, as well as Ron, forgive me if I do this incorrect, Pilo, thank you, for a term to expire December 2026, and Cole Haviland for a term to expire December 2027.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to approve the mayor's appointment of Mariah Berry to the Park Board for a term to expire December 2024, as well as Ron Pilo for a term to expire December 2026, and Cole Hovland for a term to expire 2027. Councilmember Whalen, did you want to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. And again, thank you for offering your services to the Park Board. In 2001, I believe it was, under the mayor of John Williams, I was asked to enter to go to the Park Board. And that's kind of where I started my time served for the city of Milton. I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things that have prospered. I know that we've made a few missteps here and there. I'm all for using of the park, but using of the park means a lot of other things. We need parking, we need a whole lot of other things to make success out of what we're planning to do. So just keep that in mind, that there's connectivity with other things that we have to do. There's no parking per se with the amount of people that use the park. That's been on the calendar for many, many years. So also work with us on that to understand that sometimes you put the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse. And it's hard to get everything done. So thank you for the time, and I appreciate your all standing up for the city of Milton.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you want to speak to your second?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate all of your passion and enthusiasm for the Park Board. I always thought the parks as being that's really out there. People see that and they use that. So the energy that I saw that you demonstrated when you came up to the microphone, I appreciate that. And I hope that you bring that to the Park Board and bring your creativity and imagination. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Okay. It has been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker to approve the mayor's appointment of Mariah Berry to the Park Board for a term to expire December 2024, as well as Ron Pilo for a term to expire December 2026, and Cole Hovland for a term to expire 2027. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0. Thank you and congratulations. I have some certificates for you all, and then I would love if I could get a picture of all council and the new Park Board members. We good with that? Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Well, you've got Bluetooth.
What are we doing? We're gonna get our pictures. Again?
Yeah, they don't have enough pictures of me.
You see the sticker on the back of my car?
Because you had the Rogue Nation.
Oh, we got mine first.
It has a BB-8, and it's how I roll or something like that. I have done something.
I really like it. Cute. Super cute.
Adam's got them all beat.
Yeah.
Okay, council, we have 5 regular items in front of you tonight. The first one is on page 41 of your packet. It is a Public Works contract for the outdoor meeting space project 176. I'm going to turn the floor over to Director Madden, and then following his review, I will need a motion to open up the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, esteemed guests. The item before you tonight is both for action and expenditure. In 2024, the city of Milton in 2024 budgeted for an outdoor meeting space slash stage. That project was funded by multiple sources. Primary source at the time of conception was $150,000 in ARPA federal funds. Those funds were dedicated to the city of Milton. The outdoor meeting venue was seen at a place where staff and residents could meet in the open air with less exposure to any type of issue that may come up in the future. And at that time, the project was designed. It consisted of an open-air pavilion for the Milton Community Park with 800 square feet of concrete plinth, which is a raised platform, and a metal columned roof with trusses. The city solicited for bids in August of this year. We received 7 bids with responses. Lake Taps Construction Limited being the lowest bidder at $372,149.01. This item was previously presented to council at the March 18th, 2024 council meeting. Council determined at that time not to advance the project through construction. During the 2024 council retreat, council members expressed an interest in reconsidering the project, which went out through an RFP so staff could understand what the current construction market was. We received those bids, and when the project was rebid in August of this year, bids were slightly less than $80,000 below previous submitted bids, saving the city funding. One of the primary concerns in March of 2024 was parking. Amplified sound was also discussed. City staff took that information received from council and developed an RFQ for a consultant. That RFQ opens tomorrow, and the scope of that project that opens tomorrow for public bid opening is additional parking and sidewalks along Oak Street to help facilitate pedestrian movement through the site adjacent to the stage. This is a phased project, with this portion that is before you tonight for decision being the first skeletal structure of those improvements that will happen at that lower field. One of the other items that will be coming forward in the future outside of the RFQ for additional parking will be internal paths, potential food truck parking, other power locations, and other facilities to help support this large stage structure and outdoor meeting venue. The item is before council tonight, and I look forward to having a robust discussion.
Councilmember Cedar?
Thanks, Mayor. I move to authorize the mayor to execute the public works contract with Lake Taps Construction Limited for construction of a community park outdoor meeting venue in an amount not to exceed $372,149.01.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Hall to authorize the mayor to execute the public works contract with Lake Taps Construction Limited for construction of a community park outdoor meeting venue in the amount not to exceed $372,149.01. Councilmember Cedar, did you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thanks for bringing this forward. I'm excited to see this back on the agenda, having supported it the first time around as well. I believe this is a great improvement for a lot of the reasons we heard tonight. I'm not going to belabor that point. However, I would just note, I also appreciate the concerns of local citizens. I think we've heard from a couple of them over the first time this came up and now, as well as some of the council members' concerns regarding parking. I think that we, at least regarding the parking, we have a good plan in place to mitigate that. We have long-term improvement plans for Milton Community Park that I'm excited to implement. And with the sound concerns, understanding that living near a park does bring some downsides, such as the noise of people using the park, I appreciate that we will be able to find a solution to implement reasonable regulations about the use of sound in the park, such that everybody can have enjoyment of the park and a quiet place to live. Thank you.
Councilmember Hall, did you want to speak to your second?
I agree with everything Tim said, and yes, we're going to have ordinances, and we're going to have to figure out when we're going to use it. We've got to take baby steps, and this is a huge baby step, but I think, and I know because the City of Milton residents are good working through, issues, that we can come to a resolution on a great meeting space, which is absolutely amazing, and work with our residents as well as far as noise and parking.
Are there additional comments or questions or concerns? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. You addressed my two concerns. I'm totally for having the stage. As I stated in the past, mine was just to make sure that, because parking's an issue there, and this stage is obviously going to increase the amount of people coming to the park. So that, and also street improvements of some sort, because the Oak Street especially needs some work done on it. I'm also glad to hear that we're having the RFQ for a consultant to also, go into the study the sound and how we hopefully can mitigate that, so the people that do live close by will not be affected too negatively by it. And granted, the park it's a community asset, and I think that stage just makes it just that little bit more of an asset.
Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you, Mayor, and audience here. First time I got involved with a stage and/or an event center in the park was back in 2001 or 2002. And I was actually talking with Lindell Cedar, who at that time down in Fife, come a little close, but not close enough. And it's been thought about for quite a while. It's going to come. I'll admit that. My concern, though, is the timing and the ability for the city to do the auxiliary things that we've talked about for many more years than we've talked about the building that kind of went flat. And in the last 21 years or so, very little has changed in the parking situation, but it's been promised every year that something will be done. We're going to accommodate that. The sewer lines have to change a little bit. We've got to organize how we can park. So I'm going to ask a question. How ADA is this compliance? I say that because of the location where it is difficult. There's no parking in that particular area. We do have a nice little parking lot. So I don't want to see them not involved with this for many years before we put the parking in. We've got to have some timeline of what we're going to do and commit to it on a certain timeline to make this as wonderful as we foresee it to be. We went many, many years without ADA bathrooms, and I think it was about a $400,000 investment by the time we got out from underneath that one. That ADA bathroom is not really accessible for somebody that far away, let's just say a wheelchair, or unable to they're not as mobile as some other folks are. How quickly do we support possibly another bathroom closer? We got one up on the hill very close to the lot that we have where the baseball fields are and so forth. That's where the original gazebo was supposed to be put. Now it's moved down, time moves on. But how can we commit and genuinely commit to having parking done, having access if ADA is required? And I think you're going to find that it may be ADA required. The shelter is being built to accommodate ADA. So everything else we do too has to accommodate. So if you look into it, see if the two bathrooms that are about 200 feet up the hill and so forth, and a rugged hill, it's not an ADA hill. How are you going to accommodate ADA people before we get sued by somebody, which is the impetus to the improvement in the bathrooms that we have today because of a lawsuit? Just a schedule. And I'm not saying a 10-year schedule. I'm saying this year, this gets done. Next year, something else gets done to, what's a good complement? Parking would complement. Well, good parking. ADA parking, especially. We do have ADA, there is parking up by the bathrooms and so forth. But that's a significant transit to get down to enjoy what we're providing to the community, of which they are a good part of our community. And I'd just like to have a better time frame, a commitment time frame, as to when we can do the auxiliary things that we need to do. Lighting needs to be significantly improved down there if we do anything that's going to verge towards the evening hours. So there's a little bit with that. I'm going to support this, and it's not because, well, why is it because? Because it's something we should have done 20 years ago. We've been 22 years in the making for something like this. The opportunity for the finances to help along with this is great to have. But I have no idea what the additional costs are going to be for the parking, for lighting, other bathrooms and so forth. I kind of got this big prize in front of me that is wonderful, but all the things that will be dependent on and for it, it's all vague. So once we open this, if this is approved tonight, we need to have a real working plan and commitment to make it as successful as it possibly can be. So that's what I'm asking for the council and from the city is to how to commit, not let it sit there for 3 or 4 years before we put parking in, and lighting, and all the things the supplemental things that have to go along with it. They need to be done rapidly, or it looks like we're stalling. So that commitment needs to be made, and the council needs to be very much a part of it. Is to, when everything else will come along and complement it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. The stage, as you stated, is ADA compliant. It has an access ramp on the back. That access ramp will I guess, dead end at the footing of the stage, but its adjacency to the existing concrete path creates an ADA pathway that is minimal. It's not a hurdle to overcome. ADA is incredibly important to the city, which is why as you drive down Milton Way right now, you'll see that all of our ADA ramps have been torn up. During the overlay process, it was determined those were not compliant, and so we are redoing those. ADA access is extremely important and should be provided for everyone. We have discussed multiple times the restroom situation. So the current restroom situation is there is a ADA compliant temporary unit down at Kemper Ball Field where there are two parking stalls located. The other ADA access and restroom facilities are at the center parking lot. And as you can imagine, it's challenging to build park facilities that are ADA compliant on a hill. But we do have a strong case where there is an existing ADA path that would lead from the center parking lot down to where the stage would be. It's a long path, it's too long. So part of a phase 2 approach would be to re-envision the ADA access between the outdoor meeting space and the existing parking lot. As you stated, those two ADA compliant restroom facilities are approximately, I was going to say 150 yards. So 400 feet from the stage both up the hill and down the hill. Current rationale is that we would keep the restroom facilities in those locations and not create a third one between them, but increase the ability for pedestrians to move between those facilities. The only additional restroom facility at this park was cited or discussed at the upper community building near the existing parking in the sport complex, because as you stated, that is a long distance between where people are currently parking on that upper parking lot and a restroom facility. So there has been a significant discussion about bringing in facilities near the existing upper parking lot.
Councilmember Williams, I need to let everyone go first, and then I can come back to you. Is there any other comments from those who haven't spoken? Councilmember White?
I just wanted to clarify a question about restrooms. But go ahead now.
Okay.
I'll wait.
I'll defer to
Okay.
Councilmember.
Councilmember Whalen?
If we're considering as much investment in the parking lot and the stage and so forth, whatever comes with it, porta potties aren't the way to go. That is atrocious in a park. I know we have them out because we haven't put them around, but that's not the way to go with it. And I don't know if the park board wanted to discuss that, but that's a negative in the whole vision of things. That's the negative.
They're viewed strictly as a temporary solution.
Thank you.
Councilmember White?
Thanks. I voted against this back in March, mainly because I had received no community feedback, plus positive or negative, about this project, and it was going to eat up 100% of our park improvement budget. And as we all know, money doesn't flow into that portion of the budget very quickly. And I thought that without community input, that I didn't want to commit all those funds and prevent any additional park improvements that would have to be put on the back burner because of funding. So I appreciate the fact that everyone has shown up. This is very unusual for a council meeting to get community input, and I love the fact that you guys are all here. I spent the last 2 weeks going around knocking on doors, asking people about this specific project, and it does appear to have broad community support. And so I'll be supporting it this evening. Thank you.
Any other council comments, questions, concerns? Councilmember Peretti?
Yeah, I voted for this the last time it came through, and I think when we've had discussions about this during study sessions or retreats, which is completely legal to do, it's a good thing that it's coming back. I had a chance over last year, I visited Lawrence, Kansas. And I don't know if people have been to Lawrence, Kansas, but in Lawrence, Kansas, they have a community park in the middle of their city. Everybody walks to it at night on a Friday night when we were there. And it has the old structure in the center of the park that you think about in the middle of Kansas that might be there. And I had the opportunity, I was there on business, especially 3 years ago, I was on business and I was there over the weekend. And I could not believe just the attitude and the uplifting environment that was going on there when everybody just walked into this park, sat down, and then listened to, I think it was a concert of some type, I can't remember exactly what it was, and the positive atmosphere that that just had in that community. It was just something else. I've had many opportunities. My wife and I always go down to the Puyallup during the summer to listen to those things going on. And just seeing the atmosphere and the attitude of those type of things going on, I'm so appreciative that staff bringing this back again. Because I think it's something that, especially in our time and age that we're experiencing right now, we need things like this in our city. And I think something like this will even improve in areas that we can't even maybe fathom right now. But I think going forward, we need to bring things like this that allows this type of environment in our city. So I'm very much approved of this process.
Director Madden, I think I may be confused on something, so I just want to seek clarification on the record. The RFQ that's going out tomorrow, or did it go out today?
It went out approximately 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay, not this RFQ, the one that you were referring to
Oak Street.
for Oak Street.
Yep,
That was
public-
that for sound as well, or just for sidewalk?
It is for sidewalk and additional parking.
Okay.
That sidewalk was identified in the RFQ to continue all the way to the school complex.
Okay.
Up Oak Street.
Okay. Are you good? Because I think Council Mayor Pro Tem, you'd mentioned, okay, so I just wanted to clarify. Are we good? Yeah,
'Cause
okay.
that's what I thought I heard you say. So I was incorrect.
Yes, well, to clarify, this RFQ that is opening tomorrow, it's a public bid opening. We will get a consultant to strictly look at pedestrian improvements and facilitating sidewalk improvements from Kemper Park to the school complex up Oak Street. There will also be additional parking designed and reviewed and considered along Oak Street, directly adjacent to the park.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for that explanation. This is an action item, so we can take additional comment from the audience. If you do make a comment, please make sure you state your name, the city you reside in, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Rob, you can come up. No. Whoa.
I'm going to ramble for a moment, so please stick with me for a minute on this, but I feel it's important in this situation. The biggest advantage I found in Milton has been community. We are a landlocked group of 2.5 square miles. It is very important, going to Dave's, going around this area, how important community is here. Everyone I know, everyone I talk with day and day, knowing my neighbors, all those things are very important. With what's happened with COVID and with everything that has come out of that, I've learned quite a bit about how much things have gotten locked down, and coming out of that, realizing that my neighbors and knowing who I know in these areas has been extremely important. Raised in Alaska, now living in this area. Triangle Park is a destination space, and I feel very strongly in the space that we have here. We don't have enough park space as it is, and knowing what we can do with Triangle Park and how we can make this a very big piece of just not Milton, but also Pierce and King County kind of combined in general, should be something we should think about, especially as we start looking at where the light rail is coming in to our area. It's going to hit Fife. You can see all the construction going on right now. It's very important. Having a space like this where people can come in and know that we have community events going on, making this a destination space is very big for Milton. It's very big for this whole area. We can do a lot in that. And so having these game-changing facilities, we already have a skate park, just having the sports facility and watching what's happened in my time on the Parks Board and seeing what has come up with that. I walk my dog at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and people are still playing tennis, still playing pickleball, still doing things in our community. That's huge. That's massive. And now we have this opportunity. That's big. I think we need to really consider this as a big deal to do for what we can do with the space. Milton can be on the map, and it's a place where people can come and know what they can do here. Small community, big output. It's big. Do this. So with that in mind, I'll leave it there, but I will just say that everything that's going on, I know parking's a big deal. I understand the noise, all those things. All these are ethical things that we can deal with, but having this available to people and what we can do for art, culture in a space when those are things that seem to always be taken off the docket. Anytime you look at schools and anything else going on, it's very important that we look at this and consider this is a chance for us to push up instead of down. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Were there any other comments? You're already up. You might as well go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Sarabia. I'm here with my beautiful wife, who was afraid to speak, so here I am. We live in Milton. First off, I would like for the council to consider sound as a factor. Noise is characteristically negative. Sound is a neutral factor. And so simply to pigeonhole something as a negative as sound, I think that that's quite unfair. Quite frankly, we wish that the park was being built north of Milton Way, closer to us, and to our little community and friends there, because we would love to have easier access. As it is, we're happy to walk and ride bikes to overcome things like parking as it stands. I think iterative steps towards ideal is great. Instead of building like a bunch of parking and restrooms that, 2 years from now, we're gonna be like, we have all these restrooms no one's using, right? Because we chose not to build the stage first. But I think sound is a factor, and I think that's an important factor. That's why there's sound ordinances. But I don't personally, and nor does my family, see noise as a negative, like in this instance. Also, if temporarily, like porta potties is something that we have to put up with in order to have a lot of people using the park for periods of time, that's something we're absolutely willing to live with, So that is something that we all understand. Again, we're going to be taking iterative steps towards ideal because it's not in the budget to build the whole thing at once. So that's totally fine. Where we live, there's 7 communities, there's 7 households with kids that are elementary school age or younger. And these are families that are going to be using this for generations. And so, quite frankly, my kids won't know about the parking or the restroom problems by the time that they're old enough to actually start using it for their graduations and for birthday parties and for concerts and stuff like that. So let's not let perfection kind of get in the way of the community being able to use something. And then I think, again, we should not simply pigeonhole something like sound coming from an area that the whole community is really loving the opportunity to use as simply a negative, because honestly, like that's great. If that's part of why we like living here is the community aspect. So thank you.
My name is Kathy Pilo, resident of Milton since 2015. And I just wanted to say that for years, we lived in in Des Moines for 22 years and drove through Milton on our way to Puyallup to the fair and other things. It's exciting to me to see Milton actually become a community that wants to be together and not just someplace that you're always going to Federal Way or Puyallup or Tacoma or wherever. You can come here in your own community with your own neighbors and enjoy time together. Thank you.
Any other comments? One more, and then Jacqueline Whalen.
I'll be brief. Connor Whitman. I'm a resident of Milton. I've been a resident of Milton for 34 years, and I grew up about 2 blocks east of the park up on 17th Avenue. And I know that in my childhood and early adulthood, I would have loved to have these developments already in place. We're a little bit farther away now, but we're still within traveling or walking, biking distance, like Chris said. And getting this improvement installed and taking the steps towards making the park better and better and better, I am completely in favor of all development of our public spaces, and I think that a lot of people will get a lot of enjoyment out of them.
Jacqueline Whalen.
Jacqueline Whalen. I reside full-time in the city of Milton for many decades. Couple of comments. I appreciate that there's now entering into the dialogue a bit more of an awareness of the noise impact to the captive audience that's going to be exposed to what's happening there at the Triangle Park stage. And at a prior meeting, when it was a vote of 5-2 against the stage, there were only 2 in favor of it that time. I understand reconsidering, but there's a process. Reminder about the Open Public Meetings Act is that a meeting means any place a public agency takes action. Action means public testimony, deliberations, discussions, considerations, reviews, evaluations, and final actions. The requirements of the OPMA are triggered whether or not, quote, final action is taken. For you to have made a decision to go forward and reconsider, which is certainly your right, when your agenda said you were not going to take action, I think is really problematic. And I would encourage you to really think about that seriously. Discussion or consideration of official business would be action triggering the requirements of the OPMA. Your agenda said you were not taking action. Regarding the great community building thing, I get it. But you don't have strict noise ordinances now. You don't have, I've made noise complaints. Oh, the sound meter, it's kind of hard to really figure these things out. So my experience in dealing with highly problematic noise is that the city really doesn't really do something about it. So I worry quite a bit about the impact. It's lovely to have people together. I've been there too. The money, ARPA funds, money that could go to our utilities is now going to this venue. I heard 185 and then I heard 150 today. So money, the burden on the utility rate payers will be increased so that there is this money going to the stage. You're not spending it on the water utility as you have with the rest of the ARPA money. You're spending it on the stage. I just really wish you would have the whole picture and the whole picture figured out, because I think in reality, it's going to be a really long time before there's money to do all the infrastructure you need. I appreciate the enthusiasm of the community. I truly do. I appreciate the values of what they're looking to accomplish. But there needs to be some really strict city proof that they really will follow up on their rules and that they really will respect the neighborhood, and they will give the police department and code enforcement the tools they need to protect the well-being of the community. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Are there any last comments from the audience?
Hi, Ashley Sarabia, City of Milton, getting over my fears of speaking in front of people. We bought our home at the end of 11th, about almost 2 years ago to the day. Before we could step foot in our new home, we had 5 or 6 families come out to greet us. My husband and I have moved cross country twice since we've been married for 15 years, and we've lived in 9 different homes and never once experienced this type of community. This past December, those same 5 or 6 families joined us and filled the courtroom when we adopted our foster daughter. So the impact of this community is truly life-changing for us. We very much look forward to raising our family here. This feels like home. It is home. And for our girls to grow up in such a beautiful place with such precious people. And we're so excited to be part of this growing community. We've noticed a lot of new young families moving in with young children as well. And I think that over the years, we're probably going to see more and more young families moving in as Milton becomes more known. And yeah, we're very excited for the development of new spaces that are going to encourage opportunities to gather and to continue to build and grow our community, and for our kids to have a safe and fun place to make memories. Thanks.
So I do want to thank everyone for their comments this evening. I just want to make one comment before we take a vote. Earlier today and then again tonight, there was accusations of OPMA violation. I did reach out to legal, and we reviewed it, and he does not believe there's any violation. Our council retreats are identical to our study sessions, and you all gave direction to Planning Manager Stallnecker last week on moving forward on ordinances. So he does not believe there is any OPMA violation, so I just want to pass that on to all of you. So with that, it has been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Hall to authorize the mayor to execute the Public Works contract with Lake Taps Construction Limited for construction of a community park outdoor meeting venue in the amount not to exceed $372,149.01. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carried 6-0. My ears are ringing from the beeping of the clock. So I apologize if I'm like, man, I'll have to get that one fixed too. Okay, so moving on to item number 2 this evening. It is on page 89 of your packet. It is a ordinance 2093-24 regarding MMC 12.15. I will turn over the floor to our planning manager, and then following her review, I will need a motion to open up the floor for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So last week at the study session, we discussed 3 different chapters in Title 12. 2 of them are on the agenda tonight. This is the first one, Chapter 12.15, which deals with special amendments to the special events chapter. The council regularly updates the city's municipal code to ensure that the city desires to maintain current relevant regulations. Staff regularly reviews code sections as well. The amendments to Chapter 12-15 expand the events that are covered by this special event permit to ensure that proper and orderly oversight of the events, as well as to ensure streets are closed in a safe and secure manner for the protection of public's health and safety and welfare. It provides staff an ability to regulate when people want to close streets, or if it looks like there's going to be a large group, making sure that certain things are looked at, safety, sanitation, and the such. So based on last week's discussion, there were a few slight revisions. So if we would like to, I just want to highlight those. If you go to page 92, so we did add the definition of a block party, which means a gathering of neighbors on private property and or a public street for a community event, which often includes barbecues, physics, music, or games. What makes a block party a special event, if you look at the special event definition, and we did try to clean it up, so hopefully it is clearer, means a non-city sponsored event or block party that would require the complete or partial closure of a street, or a public gathering of 50 or more people held on public property. So if it's a block party that needs to be a complete or partial closure, it would need a special event permit. If it's a block party that doesn't hit that, then they don't need a special event permit. In addition, we, if you go to, let's see, sorry, page 93, section 12.15080, deposit required. We talked to the attorney because it had the language of a surety bond, or it's basically said you could have a surety bond or a deposit, and it was like $25 to $200. So we discussed it and felt that if we did a refundable deposit of $350, that matches what we require for using the MAC. So that would tie that in, and it doesn't, in that way, it's a flat amount that would, again, it's a deposit. It would just sort of be a guarantee for us. The mayor or their designee could waive it for a registered nonprofit. And we do, in another spot, say that block parties are not required to have that deposit as well. This doesn't prevent us from, if a parade comes in as a special event and they're going to need street closures and different things, we can upfront charge them for city expenses that we know, or after the fact. So the deposit just gives us a little bit of assurance if it's a larger group that they make sure that they put it back the way they found it. So those are sort of the things I think that have changed of any significance since the last time. There was some, like I said, rewording by the attorney, because I got a little carried away. So that's my, if there's any questions or comments.
We'll take a motion to open up the floor.
Move to approve ordinance 2093-24.
It's Been moved by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Councilmember Cedar to approve ordinance 2093-24. Councilmember Hall, did you want to speak to your motion?
I like we're cleaning this up. We're also making it kind of clear, because I know Emerald Corner has a neighborhood watch. We've done it one way because that's the way it was set up. I always kind of question, you know, what's the right way to do it, what's the wrong way. This clarifies it. The only question I would have is, you have to do this 10 days ahead of time? 30 days. Well, you can't pick a date that's not going to rain in 30 days. So that's not really, that's an issue right there, because we almost canceled our neighborhood watch 2 hours before because it was pouring down raining. It just happened, the sun came out and everything worked out. We had a lot less turnout. So that is a problem there, is how can we do that?
I know that 30 days is so that the city clerk has time to route it to everybody, because we would need to, again, if you're closing streets, we should notify fire, notify police, make sure that streets are aware. We would probably put it on the website. So it allows us to have that time to do that. I don't know if an option, you know, I don't know if council wants to add some authority to someone to waive that 30 days, or if you just have to whip them all into shape. I don't know.
It's just something to think about that might become an issue. At least it has with us. We've always had them. I mean, we've had it pour down raining, but
Our planning manager Stolnecker, I guess the question I would have is, I understand why there's 30 days because I've gone through the process with our city clerk, but let's say, for instance, Emerald Corner gets a paperwork in, but then they have to cancel and reschedule. Is there leeway, or is there, interpretation that if they're just rescheduling it based on prior approval, we would allow it like the next weekend?
Yeah, the notification of neighbors is 10 days. So if you, theoretically, I suppose, I don't think it's specifically as strict that would say if you picked a day and it looked like it wasn't, if you were at least 10 days. Again, the clerk is the one that distributes, and then I think has the final say, assuming everyone else's agreement. I don't see why you couldn't.
is there something we could get in there, in here? Or we're voting on it though, aren't we? So
We can amend it.
yeah.
To be just really honest, like 30 days is not a lot of time when you look at the working days that are in there, right? For us to route things and go through the process. So I think it just takes some planning on people's part.
Also, we're going to be moving it forward, not back.
Yeah.
So maybe that would.
I say you pick the days in January, set them all and fill out your application. It gives you plenty of time to notify.
Okay.
I'm a planner, so it's a little bit easier, but is there, Planning Manager Stolnecker, somewhere would you, I don't know exactly how you would want to amend it if you did, or if council sees an issue with the 30 days as a whole.
I don't see a strong, assuming that we have not, the first part of that 30 days is making sure that the documents are in order. Has everyone taken a look at it? Are they using the proper method of closing streets? Who needs to be notified? So I would just, if someone picked a date and then had to push it back a week or two, assuming they didn't wait to the last minute, we probably could shift that, or we wouldn't have even sent out that date as well. So there's some flexibility there. I think that would be more on the procedures of staff, of whoever's in that role at the time. But,
Well, and the very next line does say that the clerk has to approve it with in 15 days of the date of application. So really, it only gives us 2 weeks to get everything processed, and then we have to notify the applicant yay or nay. So that's actually a pretty short turnaround time, because really, if it's a holiday even, it doesn't say business days, does it? It says days, so
Yeah.
you
So the idea
figure.
is that we're gonna,
Yeah.
we're gonna approve it in 15 days, so they still have 15 days to make sure their event.
Yeah. So if you got a holiday in there and a non-working Friday, it really can be a short turnaround time for staff.
It'll work. I think it just adds up.
And the great thing is we can always amend it if we need to, if, you know, we start getting a lot of applications that just aren't turned in early enough, and we can work through it and get it done quicker, then we can come back and amend code.
Sounds good.
Councilmember Cedar, did you want to speak to your second?
Thanks, Mayor. So, yeah, I think I would support 30 days, just so that well, I am cognizant of Emerald Corners event, and am ashamed to say I missed it in part because of rain. I think just for broad applicability, I think 30 days gives us, for any event, not just Emerald Corners. So I think it's a good starting place, and if it proves problematic, we'll adjust. Beyond that, I have just some typographical issues that I wanted to bring up. These are a bit nitpicky, but it's about to go into code, so I'd like to make sure it's clear. So starting on page 97, in section 10A, the last line, and I'm looking at the red line version. Oh yeah, I said 97. It says special events that takes place. It should be take place. It's only going to get more nitpicky as you go to the next paragraph. And the last 4 words of that paragraph says health, safety, and welfare. Now, there should be a comma after safety, and I say that because that's consistently how we've done it in code. So a couple of these are
I'm an Oxford comma person, so thank
Me
you.
as well, thank you. Okay, on the next page, page 98, in 30A, no person shall engage in, participate in a form, comma, or. And then on the next page, page 99, same issue in the new number 7, which is in blue text. After the word method, I believe there should be a comma.
Missed all of them.
And then in 80, it's the longer paragraph down there. The last line of that says Milton community or to groups of person in need within the city. I believe that should be persons in need. And please, if someone thinks this is wrong, but I think that's correct. And then that's,
Or groups of people in need.
we have people in need is good too. Groups of people in need.
Or persons.
Do we prefer people or persons? Is there no opinion?
People in need.
I took that language, which obviously I didn't type it incorrectly, but I took it from the fee schedule.
Took that from the fee schedule.
I think so. So. Okay.
I'm not sure you could ever have a group of person in need because a group has to be more than one.
Aye.
Yeah, it's an awkward all the way
I mean,
around.
it's an awkward phrase no matter how you look at it. So maybe we just change it to groups of, well, whatever you think, planning manager.
Provide services to the general Milton community or
It's common.
whose mission provides services to the general Milton community or to persons in need. I don't know why we need 2 groups of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Take out-
persons in need.
To group of and make it persons in need.
Strike to group of
Yep.
and add a S.
Thank you.
That's it? What? You got more?
For now. Thank
No,
you.
no, you got to get it all out now. Planning Manager Stallnecker, do we need to amend the motion? Because I thought we talked about with the attorney that, like, if it's this kind of stuff, do you want to just amend it?
Because we did it, since we've made the motion,
Okay.
probably should amend the motion. You're
But you
always
guys
welcome
always-
to call me ahead of time for those things too.
Yeah, we just don't do it
Go for
enough,
it as
I'm sorry.
amended. Present it
Or-
as amended.
Yeah.
I would move to amend the motion with the typographical errors corrected as listed a moment ago.
Second.
Do I need to take a vote? Hold on, I have my graph. Amendment. It takes a second, it's debatable, and it takes a vote, yes. Okay. So it's been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to amend the motion.
As amended.
What, I'm sorry, I forgot what you said. Oh, to amend the motion to correct the typographical errors. Good enough? We're good? Okay. Any comments, I guess?
Works for me.
Councilmember Whalen?
Just for clarity and so forth, and it's been in the code for a long time, what is the definition of vicinity? As in 12-15-070? Is it a half mile from the house? Is it next door? What is vicinity? What's the definition of, in this regard, vicinity?
This doesn't specifically, it doesn't, I mean, and that's our current code, so it doesn't have a specific definition.
No, but maybe it should be added. I mean, is it within three neighborhood, within 100 feet, within 10 feet, or just some definition so that you're sure that everybody in the local vicinity of an event that's taking place like this has been, well, informed. It's just a little vague, so that could create neighbor problems without even intending to. Just the thought.
I'm no Robert's Rules expert, but I think we have a motion on the floor. So we need to vote on that motion. And then if you'd like to amend it again, then we need to go through that, I believe. So it was motioned by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to amend the motion, oh, I forgot already, to amend the motion for typographical errors. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0. Okay, so we've got those typographical errors. Did council want to discuss elaborate on the word vicinity? Councilmember Peretti?
What have we done in the past regarding this?
Well, and that's the current language says vicinity, so I guess that gives some flexibility. It does say the city clerk shall have the authority to determine the parameters and extent of the notification. So that gives us the ability to look at where it's going to be and say, okay, if we're closing this cul-de-sac, you only have to notify the cul-de-sac. If you're closing this street, you're going to have to notify everything on that street. So I think it's, in some ways, I think it's vague because it allows the city clerk, which means she would discuss it then with, you know, the leadership team or the department heads to determine what that vicinity means for that event. And so that's where I think that's why it's vague. It's because it gives us some flexibility depending on what it is.
That makes complete sense to me.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Councilmember Whalen?
I just have a question now. Let me go to fireworks. 4 neighbors and so forth get on the street and they're going to have an event. Is that an event or how's that classified?
Say that again.
Fireworks, New Year's Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve or so forth. 4 or 5 houses gather and light off fireworks. Is that considered an event?
So a special event that needs a permit would be either that the event is closing a street or they're doing at least 50 plus people in a park or a public property. That's what a special event is.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a action item. Are there any comments from the audience? Jacqueline Whalen?
Thank you, Mayor, council, and staff. Glad to see some things getting tightened up. Jacqueline Whalen, Milton, Washington. I paid more close attention to this with that incredibly huge by conservative estimates, estate sale in my neighborhood, bringing 1,500 people. That's a conservative estimate. And so I looked at this saying, wow, there's a lot of tools the city had to deal with. And I cannot say thank you enough to Chief Hernandez, who took our complaints seriously when the road was blocked. People double parking, people blocking driveways. So while that may not be by definition, a party special event, I mean, they caused a lot of harm to the neighborhood's safety. They caused a lot of damage. I provided photographic evidence. They weren't even required to get a business license. The city missed out on sales tax. And they weren't even required to deal with all the damage that their hundreds of cars caused to the right-of-way of our street. The only place they had to just throw out some hay was in front of the site where the estate sale took place. So if this is not the means to do it, I'm pleading with you to please come up with a way to empower the police department and to really look at it. This took staff, this took public works employees. This event really hurt our city. It took people away from their regular duties. It was a big deal. So while I appreciate the tightening up, but you've clearly now made it so that somebody who's got a very great advertising campaign and reputation for selling estate items, a neighborhood's besieged, and your definition doesn't really do enough to help protect in that means. So I can see why you'd want to move forward with this. There's issues that do need to get addressed, but I do plead before the court that you please really consider about what it would be like in your neighborhood if over 3 weekends you had 1,500 people showing up, parking all over the place, banging on your window. Where's the garage sale? It was bedlam. And not everybody needs that sort of experience in their neighborhood. So I hope you can come up with a way or a mechanism within the municipal code to address that kind of special event, because it really is impactful and put people at danger. People were literally blocked from exiting their property. And the people showing up for the sale were like, what's your problem? We're only going in there for an hour. Wow. I don't think they'd want us to do that to them. But anyway, that was just a little experience to share, and I do hope you take it seriously. Thank you kindly.
Are there any other comments from the audience? Okay. Okay. So it has been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to approve ordinance 2093-24 as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0.
Mayor, as a point of order, I believe the motion was actually by Councilmember Hall.
Hollins, even though it's amended? Okay, I appreciate your clarification. So can we just do a correction, or do I need to redo it? No, okay. So just want to correct myself that it was motioned by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Councilmember Cedar. My apologies. Moving on to your next item this evening, it is on page 103 of your packet. It is ordinance 2094-24 regarding MMC Chapter 12.16. Once again, I will turn the floor over to Planning Manager Stallnecker, and then following her review, I will need a motion.
Yes, again, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is Chapter 12.16, dealing with park regulations. Again, the attorney did clean up some of my languages, so there's some changes there, but nothing against the essence of what it was as of last week. We did reword the couple sections I just wanted to bring attention to. So 1216.110, which in the red line is on page 111. There was some discussion about bicycles in the park, and so we added language that says walking of non-motorized vehicles through a city park is not considered a violation. So I hope that addresses the concerns that were brought up last week. And then also, on the page 112, on 112, again, it's the same intent, just trying to clear up the language. The city park shall be closed from dusk to dawn unless the park or facility is fully lit. Fully lit facilities may be used until the lights are turned off or 10 p.m., whichever is earlier. Eliminated sidewalks within a city park may be used between dusk and dawn. And then we broke out B, city park shall have signs posted at the entrances of the park stating operating hours. And then we pulled out C, any person or persons found to be in any park during the period of dusk to dawn, except as allowed in subsection A, shall be subject to the penalties set forth in MMC 1216-190. So that is, I believe, the kind of significant movings around that we did from last week.
So council, before we take a motion, can we request, just so it's super clear that you're approving the ordinance? Whoever makes a motion, could you just simply say move to approve ordinance 2094-24? Because we just want to make it really clear that you're approving the ordinance. So I will take a motion. Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to approve the amendments to Chapter 12.16 Park Regulations.
Ordinance number.
Ordinance number, up at the top. Sorry, 2094-24. Or say it with confidence.
Second.
Councilmember Cedar, are you okay? Okay. It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve the amendments to Chapter 12.16 Park Regulations, Ordinance 2094-24. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. Now I get nitpicky too. So in 12, on page 110, 1216.50, sorry, replacing creatures with wildlife.
It is in the non-red line version correctly,
Okay.
but it is in the red line version correctly.
Okay.
Yep.
As nitpicky as that was.
Nope, it says, yes, on page 106 in the non-red line ordinance version, it does say wildlife.
I'm so used to jumping forward to the red
I
line that
thought I had fixed that one, so I apologize it wasn't in both.
Thank you.
You're good, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember Hall, did you want to speak to your second?
The only question I have is, Chief, what are the penalties for this? If somebody comes through and aren't following these rules?
Page 112.
112.
Down on the bottom, 1216, 190.
Shall constitute a misdemeanor or conviction thereof shall be punishable as set forth in chapter 1.08.
This is hard to read.
The clean version's easier, the red version's very,
Yeah, this is just really.
Yeah.
ugh.
that's why I gave you both. I don't
And
know
are
which
they
is easier.
enforceable is my question. I know it is enforceable. That's it.
Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? Okay, this is an action item. Are there any comments from the audience? Jacqueline Whalen?
Jacqueline Whalen, Milton, Washington. I appreciate tightening up the ordinance. I do have a couple of questions. On page 109, I'm curious to know, and I'm not expecting a dialogue back and forth, but I wonder why there is just a person, it's person, firm, corporation, throughout this ordinance, it seems that person, firm, or corporation has been deleted. And I think about the many ways that limited liability corporations and the like become the barrier to actually dealing with the offender. So I just wonder why corporations and firms would be excluded from having to abide by the rules for the parks. Another question has to do with, where are we? Page 112 for the hours. Thank you for clarifying it. I look forward to seeing the lights actually being turned off, dealing with light pollution and the like. But I think it's worth considering the merits of having a definition for fully lit. Seems to me our parking lots are lit. They stay lit in the park. And it's, as I read this, it seems to imply to me that you could not park your car in the park after hours, but the parking lots are lit. So I wonder if there's something there that needs to be tightened up. What else? Oh, flipping around back to page 109, I'm wondering why things like the furnishings, I guess you'd call it, because you talk about structures, you talk about vegetation as being, you're not allowed to deface or destroy, but what about park benches? What about trash cans? I mean, what about I would call them furnishings. Why are they not included in the list of things that thou shalt not, destroy? Grills and such. So, question about that, and what else? I know that there's times when vehicles are needed to drive on the grass. Could be a soccer coach who's just got tons of equipment in the back of their vehicle and they want to get onto the field and deposit their equipment. The park event, you got all the vendors who understandably don't want to tote all of their equipment and stuff. So the question is, the prohibitions listed on page 111 about driving vehicles on areas that are not the drives. You have a problem there. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? Justin?
Just a real quick comment, and I know it doesn't really pertain to a lot. Sorry, Justin Murray, Milton, Washington. A lot of things are out of our control with this one. I know horses are not allowed on the city of Milton. That includes the Milton Interurban Trail. The Milton Interurban Trail does advertise as a horse-friendly trail in most sections. There are Linwood and a lot of other parts of the trail that do say no, but Milton is not listed as a no for the non-horse-friendly trail. So again, not really something that we can control because we don't control other websites, but just kind of making it a little bit more known that Milton is not a horse-friendly trail for the interurban. So that's just a little bit of feedback, just that we can try and connect with some WTA, which is a great WashingtonTrailsAssociation.org, as they list some other sections, but they don't list Milton as part of the interurban trail. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Any comments from council before we take a vote? Okay. My apologies here. It has been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Whitaker and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve the amendments to Chapter 12.16 Park Regulations, Ordinance 2094-24. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0.
Thank you.
Okay, two more items, council. The next one is on page 113 of your packet. It is an interlocal agreement with the city of Puyallup. I will turn the floor over to Chief Hernandez, and then following his review, I will need a motion to open up the floor.
Good evening, council and distinguished guests. As you remember, this was brought in the September 9th study session, and so we have talked about this already. And just to recap, it's an interlocal agreement between the city of Puyallup and the city of Milton for providing the facilities and personnel for the municipal court of the city of Milton. We've had a great interlocal agreement with the city of Puyallup for a number of years. At least 11, I believe, maybe more. When I came here 10 years ago, we had already moved the court down to Puyallup. And so there is nominal changes in this agreement, and this has been reviewed, as I talked about last week, at least 4 different times, 2 by our legal counsel, 2 by theirs. We've gone back and forth a little bit, just clarifying the language in this agreement. And I think my opinion and advice to council is that they go ahead and approve this agreement. Puyallup has been very reasonable in their requests. Mainly the increase in the contract is for them to process our photo enforcement infractions. And I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Councilmember Cedar?
I move to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Puyallup and the City of Milton for the providing of facilities and personnel for the Municipal Court of Milton.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Puyallup and the City of Milton for the providing of facilities and personnel for the Municipal Court of Milton. Councilmember Cedar, did you want to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, Chief, appreciate all the work you did on this and the thorough briefing last week and the discussion that was had. So thanks for bringing this forward.
Councilmember Hall, did you want to speak to your second?
Yes, I appreciate all the work you've done. I know this was a lot of numbers, and I also appreciate the ride-along I got with you to review where the cameras were last week. I can't even tell you how many people blatantly blow lights with elderly and people on a walker, using a walker in the intersection. They're actually letting the cars go because they're afraid. So we've got to do something and do something now.
Are there any other questions, comments, concerns from council? Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a curious question more than anything else. Does this satisfy everything for the photo enforcement infractions? I mean, are we on board now? Are they going to do the work? Was it an increase in money and so forth? But, you know, because in the issue and so forth, it says photo enforcement infractions. So are they doing the photo enforcement infractions at this time?
They are not, because we don't have the system yet. This is the agreement that has to be in place before we can implement the system. And so with the new numbers that Puyallup gave us and that we negotiated, this will allow us to go ahead and move forward on our project. And as far as speaking to code enforcement infractions, we already have the ability to process code enforcement infractions through our municipal court. They just have to be written.
Okay, thank you. I just checking on wordage.
Any other comments from council? All right, it is an action item. Are there any comments from the audience? Jacqueline Whalen?
I promise I won't do this again with so many things. But just a quick question. What is the fiscal impact of this interlocal agreement? Thank you.
The fiscal impact for the Puyallup Court is a $130,000 increase. And last meeting that we had, I broke that down because the city of Puyallup has broken down the service costs to the city. 88% of that $130,000 increase is the fact that they hired an additional court clerk to process these photo infractions based on the forecasting that was done through our modeling of what we think the potential workload might be to the courts, the judge, and so forth.
Are there any other comments from the audience? Okay, any other comments from council? Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve the interlocal agreement between the City of Puyallup and the City of Milton for the providing of facilities and personnel for the Municipal Court of Milton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0. Moving on to our last item this evening. It is on page 127 of your packet. I will provide a review of this agenda bill, and then following my review, I will need a motion to open up the floor. So before you is Resolution 24-1977. As we openly discussed at the council retreat, there were some clarifications that we were seeking on our council procedures to not only be efficient, but also just to reflect how we currently run our meetings. So the first item is section 3.2, which is on page 129 of your packet. We are asking council to move the study session up to 4 p.m. No formal business is conducted or action is taken at study sessions. And we feel that by moving it up, it will allow staff and you to get home earlier in the evening, which then just, I think, leverages staff, as a better city for staffing, and it just is a perk for us to get out of here early. The next one is 4.6, which is on page 132 of your packet. We are asking that we clarify our minutes to reflect action minutes, which is not only what Jurassic Parliament recommends, but MSRC as well. And it's consistent with other local jurisdictions on how they do their minutes. The major reason why we're asking is because it leads no interpretation of people's comments. The next item is on page 133. It is section 4.13. It's an adjournment. We typically adjourn our meeting once all items have been concluded. It was brought up by Councilmember Strader that that was not how the ordinance or the resolution was written, so we are asking for a revision to 4.13 to reflect how we have been conducting our meetings. Next one is number 23.3, which is on page 144 of your packet. It is removing the line, no member of city council shall attend training during the last year of his or her term in office. We just feel that that's not necessary, as many people are running again or are going to be serving another term, and it's beneficial to our community, whether they are running again or not, to attend the appropriate training. And then lastly, 24.2, which is again on page 144. This was brought up to our attention previously that we were not conducting amendments to this properly. So we are asking council to revise the verbiage to reflect how we handle all resolutions, with the exception of this one in our city. If I could get a motion. Councilmember Cedar?
I move to adopt resolution 24-1977 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to adopt resolution 24-1977 as presented. Councilmember Cedar, did you want to speak to your motion?
I'm just seeking a little clarification. So we will pass this tonight. What is the effective date of the resolution then?
I believe it's 5 days, but let me, is it 5 days? It actually is not stated on our passed and approved, which I believe it's normally 5 days. Page 144 is the red line version. We're gonna have the clerk double check. I believe it's 5 days.
Okay.
From the time that we
Not for any significant reason. I was just curious because that was unclear to me. But I think overall these are good adjustments. I have some concern regarding the study session start time. I think that we will need to see how that plays out. However, I'm willing to try it and see if those of us that maybe have commitments during the day are able to still make it. regularly.
Okay.
But knowing that we have a simple procedure in here to amend these rules, I think we can do it fairly straightforward. And so another clarification there would be how we would get that amendment onto, so we want to amend these rules. That needs to be presented during additions and deletions to the agenda. Is that correct?
I think you could do it please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we can do it two ways. You could do it as an addition or deletion, or during a report, you could say that you would like to discuss amending this and changing the start time. And then as long as we get a consensus of council being on board, we would then bring it back, the resolution, to the next regular meeting.
Okay.
But I guess if you wanted to do it ASAP, then you would want to do additions and
And
deletions.
those amendments would be effective immediately.
I'm gonna defer to the clerk. Oh, okay, so I was incorrect.
Yeah, the amendments would.
No, any resolution, she
Oh,
said.
this is, oh, okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for those clarifications.
No, anytime. Councilmember Preddy.
I appreciate you bringing this forward. Again, I agree with Councilman Cedar that, the nice thing is we can change if it doesn't work on the time frame, especially for study sessions, to see how that lays out with our timing of that. And I like it that we're getting back into, especially taking advice from MRSC and getting back to parliamentary procedures regarding, the easier, consistently recommended for how we're doing our minutes. And that I think will be much better for as we move forward to be more in line with that. So I appreciate that.
Any other comments? Councilmember Whalen?
Much. Just a fair clarity on 3.2 study session time. 4 o'clock, I think, could be an objection for people in the future who work. I don't work. 4 o'clock is a very busy time for me. If Mondays are every day, it's just the way my life is generated. If I was working, I couldn't make those meetings. And I'm not sure if we want to do something that's limiting for anybody who wants to come on council. 7 o'clock has always been historically what we've used and so forth. And I don't see why we don't stay with it.
Okay.
Because I don't know if that interrupts anybody else's business life. It would have while I was working. Believe me, it's a long way to Seattle sometimes and a lot further to Bainbridge. But I think that a little bit of I find it as a little bit of a potential problem. I don't know if it's a problem right now for anybody. If it is, I don't want to do it. Because this is the reason you came to council, or you came to council, and you're anticipating 7 o'clock, and I've built my life around 7 o'clock on first 3 Mondays for council, and I fill in other things.
Yeah. No, I completely understand. And if my memory serves correct, when we talked about this at the budget or the council retreat, we threw out any time. It could have been a half hour early, an hour early, too. And 4 seemed to be, of the 2 that are working, the consensus of 4 o'clock. I mean, you can throw out any time you want. This is just what we're recommending. It also gets people here to City Hall if they're going to join us while we're still open, which I think has some perks as well. Yeah, okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Councilmember Peretti?
Yeah, I concur with Councilmember Whalen. I think the nice thing about this is that we can adjust that or review it again, as time comes on. If we go through another election time or things change personally among us or something, we can look at that and adjust.
Yeah.
And again, I just see it as it would restrict some people who may want to consider, because of the time of the day that they work for a living, may not be able to be here. We have folks that can't be here at certain things because of their occupation. I don't want to put another block on an occupation.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think 7 o'clock restricts some people too. I mean, those who work in the evening aren't able to be on council. So I think that the comments I'm hearing is everyone's open to 4, and then should we get a new council or your guys' life changes, we can quickly change the start time. I am always looking for ways to make our city more appealing for hiring. And I just think that when I was looking at other cities, study sessions are often earlier in the evening. That's why I'm recommending an earlier start time, is just to entice our leadership team. You know, if we have to replace any of them, which I hope we don't ever, you know, it's just a perk that one Monday out of the month, your council meeting starts a little bit earlier.
And the other side of it, do we televise our study sessions?
We do.
It's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for a family with kids coming home from school and getting ready for dinner and so forth. It may separate some of those folks from participating and viewing our meetings. And I worry about that. We have a few folks that come to council meetings, and that's great, but nowhere near as much as we had in the past because of the TV. It's a different, I'm going to call it a tension in the room. It's a good tension when folks come. It's a great tension. It builds us up. I just don't want to isolate us from what the folks' expectations are.
Okay.
So I may not vote positive for this.
Okay.
And that would be the subject matter that I would be using.
And just to clarify for anyone who does listen online, it is live streamed on YouTube, but then it immediately can be viewed following the meeting. So if the meeting ends at 6:30, my understanding is then you can watch it at any time. So
We save all of them.
yeah,
You know, they're a public record now. You have to save them.
yeah. Well, they're on YouTube. Like, we don't delete them. Like, it's live streamed and it immediately saves to YouTube. So if you aren't able to watch until 7 p.m., it will be waiting there for you to watch it.
You sure it's not public record?
It is a public record. What I'm saying is it stays on YouTube.
Yes, but I think we have to retain that if
We do.
in any media that we take public record in, we must retain that.
Yes. No, I hear you. I'm just saying that people don't have to go through that process because it's literally on YouTube. So they don't have to make a public records request. They can watch it at their convenience. That's all I wanted to clarify. Okay. Any other comments? Councilmember White.
Yeah, I'm willing to give this a try. The only thing that gives me pause is that our meetings are supposed to be open to the public, and most of our residents do work and are unable to attend during working hours. And so I realize that no action is taken during study sessions, and it is available online and archived on YouTube. But I would be open to changing this again if we had negative public reaction to it. Because I appreciate the fact that you want to make it more convenient for city employees, but we collectively work for the citizenry. And if it became an issue, I would want to put it back to, and again, I wish more people did show up. And if they did, I would have a greater pause to this, but since typically that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a try.
Okay, I respect that. I will just add one thing also, that there's no public comment at study sessions as well. So,
And I get it.
yeah.
That's why, I mean, I would not be in favor of moving regular council meetings to 4 o'clock, but I'm willing to give this a try at 4.
I agree with you. Okay. Do you have any other comments? Oh, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just as it's already been stated, can be easily amended. So it's worth giving it a try. And if it doesn't work for the people that it doesn't work, then we can always amend it and select a different time. That's
This is an action item. Are there any comments from the audience? Jacqueline Whalen.
Thank you. Trifecta, whatever. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Jacqueline Whalen, full-time resident of Milton. And I'd like to start with a clarification question on page 144. paragraph 24.2, it would seem to me that the language that has stricken was the language that allowed for cooler heads to prevail by saying, if you want to change the rules, you got to wait a week. So I'm puzzled in terms of you've got rules that say you have to wait a week, and you're not waiting a week because this is the first time this ordinance is being presented. So point of clarification, or I'll move on to the next comment, but it just seems that you're operating under old rules and you got to abide by the old rules before you make a change. 23.3, regarding the training, I don't know if you discussed at your retreat the history, and that was where a council member bragged of, oh, I'm just going to go off fishing. And that's where council said, we got to do something to make sure. And this is back in time. I'm not saying anybody in recent history. This is back in time. When this was put forward, it was, wait a minute. You would think if your taxpayer dollars are going to send one to training, they should be attending the training. So my suggestion would be considering now or in the future that you make a rule that says if we're sending you for training, you attend the training. The other thing that no guess is a important issue to me is on page 131, 4.4. It seems that the language you have there is that difference between shall or may. There's a discretion aspect. And on 4.4, the sentence in the midst of the paragraph, a citizen comment sign-up sheet will be available at each regular and or special meeting, council meeting, for the use of the citizens wishing to address the council. It doesn't say the only way you get to address council is via the sign-in sheet. It's, to me, that's language that, if that's what you want, I think that's sad. I've given testimony at the county when I worked or volunteered on their citizen advisory board. And the list for signing in was a matter of convenience to the clerk. There's everybody's name. But after they went through the list, there was then a statement by the presiding officer, is there anyone else who wished to speak? Dealing with people who came late, dealing with people who were motivated to say something as a result of the comments made earlier. So I'd really encourage you to take that into consideration. And if it's an ironclad rule, well, I shall end there. Thank you.
So just to clarify a couple of things before taking a vote, if my memory serves me correct, and I'm pretty confident because we spoke about this at the retreat, 23.3 was actually added during my time in office due to a situation we had where council at the time did not want those leaving council or expected to leave to go to training. So I will disagree with the comment made. And then 24.2, one of the reasons we're amending that is because there is a difference in interpretation of which must be laid over for at least 1 week. What does that mean? I mean, you guys, we talked about it at the budget retreat, our council retreat, which is very similar to study session. That was much longer than a week ago. And that was one of the things we discussed with legal is that interpretation. And again, it's also to just mirror how we handle all resolutions in the city of Milton. So just want to add that clarification. Any other, I forgot to ask, are there any other comments from the audience? My apologies, Jessica.
And I apologize, Jessica Milton. I apologize for not knowing all the details you're talking about, but what I understood from the conversation about the 4 o'clock time, as a resident of Milton, 7 o'clock for me always is like, I don't want to go out at night. It's interesting then, because I didn't understand then. So the one you're talking about is just a study session where people are just finding out information. And the thing is I would probably then watch the YouTube video anyway, as opposed to sit during the meeting, because I could fast forward and listen to the parts I want to. And then I like the idea that you're allowing people then that work here be able to go home earlier on one of those nights. Sometimes 4 o'clock, yes, it is busy with kids and jobs and stuff, but sometimes 4 o'clock works for a lot of people, I think, to want to come out. Like me, I'd rather come at 4 to listen than at 7. But just as you had commented about you work for the residents of Milton, and I am a resident of Milton. And again, I know you guys need to work for your situation, but I think it would be interesting from my perspective to be like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I feel like I would go listen. Or like I said, I'd watch on YouTube to find out information, to come to the next session, to have public comment. So
Just want to note our timer is flashing, but it is working on the screen. So you didn't talk well over 3 minutes. Any other comments from the audience? Justin?
Justin with Milton. Thank you for looking into and trying to remove the training aspect of it. Having been looking at city council for a 4-year term, just saying that you can only be training for 3 years and not for your full 4-year term. Anytime that you can remove a barrier for somebody to train and develop and work for the city, for the community, I think is an awesome way to remove a wall for somebody to develop themselves, to develop their community, I think is an awesome resource. And for your 4 o'clock, you might see a little bit of daylight now. So kudos to you. So thank you.
Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you, and I'd just like to clarify that a little bit. That's when it was announced that you weren't going to run in the next year, so that we weren't paying 7 people to go. We never had enough for everybody to go to AWC annual. It would be 2 or 3 people who would go. It was just an advisory that you wouldn't go if you declared that you're not going to be a council person. I know it says the 4th year, but at the end of the term, at some time I'm going to go out, and I will let folks know in the last year I'm here, and that's what it was meant for. This is a while ago that this went in. I can tell you the.
Yeah, I could, off the record, I don't want to put people's name on the record. I can tell you exactly what council members this was geared towards. And at the time, the council's intent was that if you were in your last year, you could not go to training. I did propose saying your last year if you're not going to run, but council at the retreat said, no, we just want to extend it out altogether. So that's where that came from. And I also want to correct that I have budgeted at least the last 2 years for all of you to go to AWC, for all of you to go to city action days, and for all of you to go to chamber meetings. So it is budgeted. It's in my new proposed budget to continue. So there's no disparity about who gets to go to training. You all are budgeted to go to training. And I hope that you will join me in my last year in office at training, because it's very beneficial whether you're leaving or not.
And a lot of this came out of years when we weren't financially able to block monies for training and so forth equally. You almost had to bid for it. I'm not saying it was a big process, but it was just the intent that if you are known and identify as the last term, it was like a request. Don't do it if you don't spend the money if you're not going to do it.
I do need a motion to extend our meeting. I would recommend for at least 10 minutes.
Actually, I'd call for the motion on the floor to
Okay.
be resolved first, Mayor.
Okay. So it has been moved, I'm sorry, let me get to the correct page here. It has been moved by Councilmember Cedar and seconded by Councilmember Peretti to adopt Resolution 24-1977 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried 6-0. We just have to do reports. Would someone like to make a motion to extend our meeting for 10 minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to extend the meeting for 10 minutes. Any objection? Okay. Council reports. We are going to start with Councilmember Whalen this evening.
Oh, I have nothing to add for now.
Okay. Councilmember Hall?
Quickly, if you can get down to see how they're working on the trail down there between Fife. Water's coming through, birds are coming in. It is amazing.
Thank you for that recommendation. Councilmember Cedar?
Just want to say thanks to the Public Works Department. A lot of great work going on out there, getting the roundabout tuned up to be finished next year, and the new sidewalks. It's very exciting.
Councilmember Peretti?
Want to thank the chief for taking time. I know he mentioned last week that if you want to go out and see the problem areas of the city, and I did, I think Councilmember Hall did the same thing. And actually, I've gone back to that corner of, is that 28th? And actually with some other people and sat there and watched, and it is blatantly unbelievable when you sit there and watch how people are pulling over the cross lines, the crosswalks, just about hitting people. I mean, but I have to say it off. I don't know if anybody in the Fife School District is listening, but every school bus I've seen there stops at the stop line. So, I mean, it's like the buses are all following the rules, but boy, I tell you, and I think it's true that once we put the cameras in and everything, I think we will find out that it's probably passed through traffic through our city. I'm guessing 90% is probably running that light and making the turns and that.
Councilmember White?
I also would like to give kudos to the Public Works Department. I know it's been a long time coming, and I'm actually surprised it's taken so long, but I see that the protected left turn signals are installed at 19th. When are those going to be activated?
We need to schedule Pierce County to update the timing. Finalized timing sheets were received last week, and so we're in that process right now. I would love to say it'll be done this week. Next week may be likely.
Because I know that a happy bus driver is a good bus driver. So I'm glad that we were able to address that concern for them. And also, kudos for saving the city $80,000 on that stage construction. I'm pleasantly surprised that our voting it down earlier this year has ultimately ended up saving us quite a bit of money. And $80,000 in our park budget is substantial. So thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. And the sidewalk on 19th, I like the construction going on there. I don't drive on 19th because they were doing construction on it. But that'll be great when that's done. I have had friends of mine ask, with the roundabout, there are sections that they've ripped up and there are now the plates across the road because people assume, oh, it's done. So that was known, well, that's probably connected with the work that's going on down to 99, I would assume.
Is actually not. It's part of the roundabout construction. A deficiency was identified with a storm component, and
Okay.
so the city required them to correct that deficiency.
Okay, so I will get that answer to the people that ask me, what the heck? Now there are metal plates on the road. And my answer at the time was, I don't know, I'm gonna ask.
Final paving of the roundabout is scheduled for next week. It was scheduled for this Wednesday, but it's been postponed.
Okay, thank you. And I was sorry to hear about the passing of Donna Dabson. That was very unexpected. Usually death is, but that hit me. Because I wasn't extremely close to her, but she's always so courteous and kind. And I'm sad to see her gone.
Councilmember White, did you forget something?
I forgot something. And again, directed back at Public Works, I'm sorry. I got contacted by several residents in the last week about their water having a lot of dirt in it. And I'm wondering if you could address that issue and let us know what happened, because I've gotten different stories about what they think happened, and I'd be interested to know. Several had mentioned that there was a break in one of the mains out by I-5, and I wondered if that was due to the construction that's happening with regards to the Porter Way project. Just wondered what happened, and some people are complaining that their water pressure is not what it used to be after that particular incident. And I just would like to get an update on what's going on.
That was one of the, I have 2 items to update council on tonight. One of them was
Oh,
just.
is that on here?
No, so on Sunday, late morning, so that was September 8th, the city incurred a significant mainline break down near Porter Way. The break occurred, as far as we've been able to identify, we haven't been able to TV that line yet, but the break occurred on the east side of I-5. And the way our system is connected, significant water was lost and pressure was impacted. So I would my note here was to acknowledge our team that responded immediately and worked diligently to isolate the issue, and then under emergency stance, find a contractor and repair any leak, because the issue that we were able to solve or to implement on that morning was temporary in nature. So we were able to work with a contractor and have a permanent solution. That does minimize our break, but before I forget, the 4 individuals that responded, Tim Russell, Ursula Hare, Darren Zumak, and Bill Fonda, just phenomenal work on their part. And the dirty water complaints that you saw, we fielded quite a few of those. We contacted each person that identified dirty water, and we worked with them. But that is when a break happens, it can backflow and suction up, and you can get dirty water calls. And that is exactly what occurred. So we've been working through that and working with a contractor to have a permanent solution over the last week. So it was a very busy Monday, last Monday.
So that wasn't a construction issue or anything, that's just a water main break that happens?
They are very close, and we haven't been able to determine a cause yet, but it being on the east side, from what we've been able to tell, there's no immediate correlation.
Do you want to just finish your next one and then we'll go back to Planning Manager Stoniker?
Yes, absolutely.
no comment.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so council was given a letter written on June 17th. That letter was addressed to WashDOT, who facilitates our local programs and the Interurban Trail Grant. That letter was requesting that they allow the city to bill towards its federal funds and keep that project moving forward while it coordinates with the 161 Fish Passage project. That letter, we did not receive response from WashDOT directly. On August 21st, in a coordination meeting on this project, WashDOT recommended that the city return its federal funds and rescope the project and resubmit. They asked me if I was in agreement with that. I said no, and I would need to bring it forward to council. And we had submitted a pay application to keep this project moving forward. On September 9th, our payment application was returned and rejected from WashDOT, which means that we are not able to bill currently towards the federal funded project. The reason WashDOT is not allowing the city to bill to that is because the project needs to be fully funded through design and engineering, $400,000 as it was submitted at the time of the grant application. At that time, the application proposed a connection across 161. After the grant was accepted from PSRC, the opportunity became available for the city of Milton to cohabitate undercrossing of the Fish Passage and allow for a safe passage where we're not competing with 20,000 vehicles on a SR 161 per day. The city enjoyed that opportunity. We moved it forward. WashDOT secured it in their contract. And for the last year and a half, we've been coordinating on the 161 project. To date, there is still no final design on that project, and it continually moves. From a footing standpoint, from a shoring standpoint of how the soil is held back on either side of that undercrossing. So the decision that will be before council in the near future is, do we stay with our preferred alternative of a below-grade crossing, or do we change course and have an at-grade crossing, at which point WashDOT would likely allow us to bill to the federal funds, because that at-grade crossing could be achieved within the $400,000 budget. So that is just a project update from council. There are pros and cons to both, which I would be happy to discuss now or later.
I think given the time, we probably need to bring this back to a study session or a regular agenda. Okay.
Understood.
I think it's a long conversation or a lengthy conversation. Okay, really quick, Michelle, Chief, can you be like 2 seconds? Or I have to make another motion?
You see something? Say something.
Perfect.
Stay safe.
Okay, I'll do 2 seconds. We have a utility box wrap project and a senior prom this week. Visit the website for details. Seeing that all items have been concluded, I will, for the last time, call for a motion to adjourn. Oh wait, does it immediately go into effect? I think it does. So seeing that all items have been concluded, I will adjourn our meeting at, I don't even know what time it is, 9:16 p.m.